The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today we're thrilled to feature Brendan. He's the owner and CEO of Magnolia Vacation Rentals based in the Great Smoky Mountains. Brendan has transformed his background in law enforcement into a thriving career in real estate and property management. As a real estate agent, photographer, vacation rental expert, he is dedicated to delivering unforgettable hospitality experiences. So get ready to be inspired by Brendan's journey and insights into the vacation rental industry. Welcome to the show, Brendan.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So first of all, what inspired you to transition from law enforcement into the real estate and specifically vacation rentals?
So I originally actually got into real estate just as a way to supplement my income in law enforcement. At the time, I didn't have any aspirations to do it as a full-time career until I kind of got my foot in the door and got to see what all real estate was about. I went to a brokerage. It was a boutique brokerage in the town that I live in, and it was a really good place for me to start because they had a lot of there were real estate investors there, property managers, and it really showed me that there's so much more to real estate than just what I had originally envisioned as being on the sales team or selling properties. And I really got to see, okay, I can, go to the investing route. I can go the property management route. And I found through getting into real estate investing is what showed me vacation rentals.
And what was it about that interested you?
So I think I kind of fell for the hype originally, like everyone else. During COVID, the short-term rental Airbnb thing just kind of exploded, and I was seeing it all over the internet, podcast and everything. It was all over my social media feeds. And I really loved the Smoky Mountains. It was like the place I've been traveling to ever since I was a kid. So I was like, you know what? I want to buy a short-term rental in the Smoky Mountains. We had just finished a flip that was originally going to be a long-term rental when we bought it. We flipped it, had a significant amount of profit from it. Kind of a home run. You don't really find flips like that every day. So we were like, well, we're going to take this money, invest it into a short-term rental. At the time of the brokerage I was at, they had kind of a rule where you didn't manage your own properties. So they had, it was like 2% for them to manage any of your rental properties, which is an awesome deal. So I was like, hey, I'm going to buy this short-term rental over in the Smoky Mountains. Like, I know you guys only do long-term rentals. So like, how is this going to work? Are you guys going to manage this? And they're like, we don't have any idea how to do that. So I was like, well, I've been looking on YouTube and everything else. I just kind of had a general idea on how to do it. And they were like, okay, well, let's open our own, short-term rental property thing. But it didn't work out. Just kind of, I think our visions didn't necessarily align at the time. So I ended up branching out and doing it on my own over in the Smokies. Yeah.
And how do you think your experience as a field training officer shaped the way that you manage these properties?
It's been such a learning experience. We started with no experience. I remember we started doing a little bit of Facebook marketing, and I have zero business background. Don't have any relatives. I didn't even have any mentors at the time. So I just kind of did this crazy thing that a friend and I really thought of in a parking lot while we were working in law enforcement. And I just started doing some Facebook marketing, and one day I had somebody reach out to me. They saw one of my ads, they called. So I went over there because I don't live far. So I went down there and I met the guy at the cabin, and he was just finishing up some renovations and stuff, getting it furnished. And I remember he was like, all right, so you guys have never done this before? And I was like, no, sir. He's like, all right, I'm not going to lie, that terrifies me. But he was like, I'll sign your
Oh,
contract. So he signed it, and that was our first one. And it turned out really good. It started booking right away. We had already, set up our dynamic pricing software, and I really had started setting up. I knew I wanted it to be a larger scale company at some point. So I started putting things in place, even with one door, you know, to be able to operate on a larger scale later on, all the software and everything I was using. So we got everything set up, and
mm,
it ended up being really good. A couple months later, we got a few more. And, now 2 years later, we're pushing over 70 units and growing every month.
wow. Brilliant. And I'm sure, your passion for photography must play into enhancing your clients' experiences. And I suppose it must help with you marketing your properties, doesn't it?
Absolutely. One of the things that I noticed that the least performing properties over in that area, they just have like really bad photography. And I went I hired a few different photographers and stuff like that, but I could never find anyone that really captured the vision that I wanted to portray on the listings and things like that. And I think, real estate photography is one thing, but when you're marketing a vacation rental, you're not necessarily showing a space like you are
Mm,
when I'm trying to market a house. If I put a house on the MLS, I want to show the space, and it normally can have like a blank canvas. You want the people to be able to envision what their life is going to be like in that property or in that space. When you're selling a vacation rental, you're selling an experience. So your photography
mm.
and your compositions are going to be completely different. So I think a lot of it was just I couldn't find anyone that had that exact like vision that I had. So I did a bunch of. I always kind of liked photography. I had never done it before. I just enjoyed looking at architectural photography. So one of my friends, who's probably the best architectural photographer that I know, I called him up one day and I was like, "Hey, will you come down here? Like, I'll pay you. Like, I'm gonna buy a camera and everything. Like, teach me, how to be really good at this." And over time, I really developed my skills, and I was only shooting properties in our management portfolio. But since then, I found that there's a big market for it, and people will pay me well to do it. So we're starting to branch out now with our
Brilliant.
photography business.
So you're bringing everything that you're passionate about into one business. So what is it that really excites you most about working in such a vibrant vacation market, the Great Smoky Mountains?
I love the competitiveness of it. A lot of people will like obviously shy away from a market like that because there's so much inventory, and people are griping and complaining on these Facebook groups and stuff like that. Like, the market's oversaturated, like it's terrible, everybody needs to sell, and it is incredibly challenging. But I like that aspect of it. I think it gives me an opportunity to engage my creativity instead of just putting a listing out there and like hoping it books. Like, you've got to work really hard for it to keep your occupancy up and to keep revenue, and I like that. I think every day is just kind of has that challenge aspect to it that you probably wouldn't get if you were in a smaller market where your competition is very slim.
Well, I mean, you're doing incredibly well, 70 units there. So what's next for Brendan? What are your goals for this year?
So this year we've already opened up a branch in Nashville, Tennessee. Um, it's going to be another challenging market. The regulations are not short-term rental friendly, but there's a huge market there as well. There's tons of tourism. I think so. There's good aspects and there's bad aspects of it, but so we're starting to get the ball rolling here in Nashville, and we're also working on Florida. So we got a place we're gonna hopefully take on here soon in Destin. So I've already done a lot of analyzed a lot of my competition over there, have an idea of what they're doing, what I think they should be doing. So we're hopefully gonna get hit the ground running over there as well.
Brilliant. You're branching out, branching out. So, finally, look, here at Icons, we're not just a real estate podcast. We are the number one real estate podcast network, and we're passionate about making podcasting accessible to anybody involved in the business of real estate. So that doesn't, just include realtors or brokers. Of course, it includes people who are doing vacation rentals as well. So, Brendan, if you had your own podcast, what would you call it?
I think I would call it, like just the truth about short-term rental investing. I think there's so many There's so much. There's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of not so good information out there. I was listening to one yesterday, and it talked about buying a short-term rental is like the easiest way to get out of your W-2 job. That's not true. Not true at all. So, yeah, that's what I would name it, and it would be all about the things that people don't tell you about short-term
Keeping it
rentals.
real.
Yes.
Keeping it real. And so if the listeners are interested, or maybe they want to go and have a holiday in Smoky Mountains. So how do they reach you? How do they call out to you?
They can find us online. It is www.magnoliavr.net, Magnolia Vacation Rentals. That's the easiest way to book anything. Our contact info is on there. They can also find me on Facebook. I've got a Facebook account that more of a setup, more like a professional account. So
Awesome. And Brendan's details will be in the show notes. So make sure to revert back to those. So Brendan, thank you so much for your time today. It's a little bit different, focusing on vacation rental. So something a little bit new. And to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the Icons of Real Estate. Bye for now.